Good morning, everyone. It's Wednesday. So I slept terrible last night, like absolutely terrible. And I woke up this morning just feeling super negative about my body. So today, in Thoughts from the Car, what I want to talk about is what we can do when we're dealing with a negative body body image spiral, let's call it. So what can we do to help? What are some things that can help us stop spiraling and go back in the other direction of positivity about our bodies? And not just the cutesy things, like things that actually work, research-based things that I actually do, things that I'm doing currently this morning to help myself stop the spiral. So what's really interesting about this is specifically for women, there is a time in our cycles, our menstrual cycles, that we will feel like we look at ourselves in the mirror and we literally see our body differently. Like our noses look different, the shape of our face changes during our different parts of our menstrual cycle. And so it's not just all in our heads. It really is. There is a change in our bodies during this part of our cycle, and we feel it. And we also, because we know ourselves, can see it, even if nobody else can kind of see it. And it's really hard on our minds, especially with the way society is and standards of society for women. Especially I am finding as I'm getting older, I'm in my 40s, that my appearance means more to me in some ways, because my appearance keeps changing because I'm aging. Your skin and the way your body just is shaped after having kids, and it's everything changes, especially when you hit your 40s. And I was actually just reading an article this morning, and I think this actually contributed to my body image spiral, is that there are two huge gaps of huge change in bodies, specifically for women at the age of 44 and then again at the age of 60. That's where we do our most aging, where it's like noticeable in our bodies. And I'm about to turn 44 in November. And so I think that just got in my head. Anyway, let's get to the good stuff of what to do about all of this. But I found that really interesting this morning. So what do we do when we're dealing with it? The first thing is having compassionate self-talk. We have to speak to ourselves nicely, because what happens when we get into these spirals is our brain starts comparing, we see a friend that maybe we haven't seen for a while and they've lost a ton of weight. And we're like, well, I wish I could lose all that weight. They look great. Or we put on an outfit that we haven't put on in a long time and we're like, oh, that doesn't look the same. That doesn't look right. That's, my body's changed. I don't feel comfortable in it anymore. Or we're getting ready to go to a party and we need to wear something that's kind of trendy and nice. And, we put this outfit on and we're comparing ourselves to what we don't even know it's going to happen yet. And we spiral, we gain a few pounds, we lose a few pounds, our bodies change, especially as women. And this is true for men too, but especially for women, we have these times every 28 days or so where we just kind of hate our bodies. It just happens. But the danger of it is we can spiral and we can kind of get stuck there. So we have to talk to ourselves compassionately. We need to come up with a helpful phrase. So a helpful phrase that is something true about ourselves, that where we can praise our body. So we praise our body for what it's done, especially as a mom who has biological children. One of the things I often find myself falling back into is that I'm so thankful for my body, this body that carried children into this world and brought children into this world. And for me personally, that's something that I am very thankful for, because that was something I didn't think I'd be able to do. And so I praise my body for it. I praise my body for being able to wake up and go to work every day, going for walks, going on hikes, lifting weights, doing yoga, doing the things that my body does every day, cleaning the house, all the things that your body does that you don't even like think about. Like we just do them. We praise our body for it. And that leans into the gratitude for what our body does for us. Like I mentioned about having children, or the fact that we have menstrual cycles. Like, it's such a wondrous thing. Like, who would ever thought that it would be a thing? I don't know. Like, it's a wondrous thing. It is a miracle. I don't feel like it's a miracle every month when it hits me, when my uterus is shredding its lining. It doesn't feel like a miracle, but it truly is when we think about it, how miraculous it really is, what our body does. And if we can praise it and have gratitude for our body and speak compassionately to ourselves, this is huge. Another component of speaking compassionately to ourselves is to acknowledge the hurt that we're feeling about our bodies. So if you've gained weight, or that outfit doesn't look so great on you anymore, or, somebody has lost weight and you're comparing yourself because you haven't lost the weight, or they've been working out and dang, their muscles look amazing, or they just have a different body type than you and you're comparing your body type to their body type, which are completely different, just biologically. Speaking to ourselves in a way and acknowledging the hurt for what it is that this hurts is something that is so compassionate that we can do for ourselves. And then we decide that, yes, this hurts, but I'm not going to allow it to make me continue to spiral. We just decide we have to make that choice. That is a choice that we get to make. Nobody makes that choice for us. So we acknowledge the hurt, and then we make the choice that we're not going to allow it to hurt us. Because we are more than our appearance. We are more than our appearance. Oftentimes what happens when we find ourselves in a negative body image spiral, is that we need to reconnect to our body. Like, there's been some kind of shift, in our thought process, the lens, the perspective has shifted. And so what we need to do is we need to reconnect to our body. Because what we're doing is we're looking at ourselves from like a different perspective, somebody else's perspective. We're self-objectifying. We're becoming objects. We're self-objectifying, and we need to get back into our bodies. We need to have the perspective from inside, the internal, rather than the external perspective. And this happens when we're comparing with others, when we're comparing to what social media says, when we're comparing to what society is deeming as beautiful, instead of looking outwardly. We're looking inwardly from an outside perspective, instead of looking outwardly from inside of who we are and our value, our specific value inside. So we need to shift back into our bodies. So how do we do that? We have to enact positive body embodiment. Positive embodiment. Positive embodiment. So here are some tips for doing that. Meditation and prayer are huge. What is great about this is when we get into that quiet space to meditate, in like a presence practice, what happens is we then intentionally feel our breath. Like, we feel our breath. The practice is to feel like wherever you're sitting, like feel where your body is connecting to the seat, cushion, and use that as an anchor so that all those feelings and craziness and chaos inside of us that's going on, all those thoughts, that they can simmer down a little bit, and we're concentrating not on the thought, but we're concentrating on the breathing. A breath style that I've mentioned before that's super helpful is box breathing, where you take a breath, you hold it for 5 seconds, you let it go for 5 seconds. Then you take another breath, you hold it for 5 seconds, and then you let it go over 5 seconds. And then you make a box shape with your breathing. This helps center us. It helps ground our emotions. Another thing that is super helpful is grounding itself into the earth, utilizing the earth's energy to anchor us and center us. I know it sounds really woo-woo, but it's actually a thing. It's science. Look into it. So what you do is you take your bare feet, better yet, if you can take larger portions of your body, like your legs or back, and you lay flat on the ground, and then you put your legs at a 90-degree angle, and this really helps because it like weighs you into the ground more, and you then consciously think about rooting yourself to the earth and the energy from the earth going through your body. I know it sounds woo-woo, but it's literally a thing. It really is science. Look into it. There's like grounding sheets. It helps you sleep better. It heals your body. It literally heals your body. The energy from the earth can literally heal your body, which is why like people really enjoy gardening a lot of times. Getting your hands in the dirt and the earth for a lot of people is very healing for their bodies. People with like autoimmune issues, this is something that they do. Grounding into the earth is a practice that literally heals your body. Okay, so go for a walk, getting in green. We've talked about this before, being in nature, breathing in the air, and just literally being in the vitamin D helps us, especially when we're around green for some reason. It calms our nervous systems and helps us to be able to think more positively overall. Okay, so those are like all the tips, right, for that. But then there's this whole idea of self-care, right? So self-care, there are 5 domains actually for self-care. And I want to go through them really quick because self-care, compassion, because I'm running out of time. Okay, so there's physical compassion, and that is where we're like soothing and comforting ourselves from stress. So things we can do for that are we can nap, we can eat nutritious food and keep our bodies healthy. Yoga, breathing exercises, meditations, vitamin D, being with animals, touching and petting dogs and cats and riding horses, literally being in an animal's presence and physically having touch with them. Getting a massage, going on a little vacay, whether it's a day or 5 days. Yeah, so like all those things, like taking a hot bath, those things are like physical things that we can do for our body. Grounding, meditation, those things help our body to regulate, so that we can get our emotional compassion in check, our emotions in check. So emotional compassion or emotional self-care is where we are treating ourselves to something that is enjoyable, like pleasure, joy. Okay. So this is the fun aspect where it's listening to music, reading a book, going to see a movie, gardening for some people, eating a delicious meal that is like a treat, you know, going shopping can be fun for people if that's something you enjoy. Going on a roller coaster, going for a bike ride, riding a Harley, riding in a convertible, or a Jeep. That would be my thing. I can't wait. Someday I'm going to get a Jeep. I'm going to get one, guys. So like doing something that's enjoyable to us is the emotional enjoyment, compassion that we can give ourselves. Then there's mental compassion. This mental compassion is where we learn to hold thoughts that we have a little more loosely. Like we're not going to hold on to them. Every thought we have, we're not like, yeah, that's truth. That's truth. Because our inner critic really gets to us. And so if we can learn mentally to hold loosely to all the thoughts that we have, right? Not every thought we have is truth. And so we have to hold them lightly, loosely. And then relational compassion and self-care for ourselves is connecting with others, because isolation helps, it intensifies depression, and it intensifies negative thoughts and low self-esteem, and allows that critical voice to have more power in our lives. Okay, so, that's all that. Oh, and one more. The 5th one is spiritual. So spiritual self-care. So that one is where we're like cultivating our personal standards and our values, and then living from those and guiding ourselves from those. So like spiritual practices that we have, prayer, as for some people, there's different kind of prayers, there's different kind of like activities, things like that. Okay, worship, music, singing, those kind of things are like practices that we can do to help with our spiritual practices. Okay, desperately running out of time. Okay, so I want to say that there's nothing wrong to care about our appearance. I think it's actually an integral part of caring for ourselves, is caring about our appearance, caring how we look, presenting ourselves with our best foot forward. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is when we start doing maladaptive investments in our body compared to adaptive investments in our body. Adaptive presence in our body is grooming, self-grooming, having good hygiene, painting our nails, wearing makeup, using skincare products for ourselves, getting haircuts, wearing certain clothes that make us feel comfortable and that we like about ourselves, wearing the sexy undies on, especially on days when you don't feel sexy, those kinds of things are adaptive, and they're good for us. They're positive for us. But then there's maladaptive things. And those are where we have extreme dieting, for months at a time, when we have obsessive exercise, when it's obsessive, it's not healthy. We're doing it for the wrong reasons. We're not doing it for healthy reasons. We're doing it for external reasons that, because of others' perspectives. When we're wearing clothing that we don't necessarily feel comfortable in, but it's trendy. And so we're just trying to be with the trends rather than wearing things that fit our bodies and making our bodies look the best and making us feel the best. And then crazy beauty care routines that we cannot afford, such as, plastic surgery and things like that, things that are not affordable to you. So, those kinds of things are maladaptive, and they're not helpful for us and for our psyche overall, and for our overall positive body image. So here's what we do. Here are some questions we can ask. Here's the challenge, all right? So when we get into these spirals, when we get into these places of negativity about our bodies, we tend to let that inner voice really run away from us, and we let it rule us, and we give it power. So when you find yourself doing that, one of the practices that I've been doing is I ask myself, my inner voice, that inner critic, and a question. I ask myself the question, what are you so afraid of? What are you so afraid of? This happens especially when there's a repeated phrase that happens sometimes in your head. I don't know about you guys, but I get the repeated phrase that you're not worthy. You're not beautiful enough. You're not good enough. You bring no value to the world. So I ask myself, what are you so afraid of? And I talked before about the whys, going 5 levels deep. So then I, say I'm afraid of this, that, or the other thing. And I say, well, why? Why are you afraid of that thing? Well, because of this, that, or the other thing. Well, why are you afraid of that thing? Why? And I do it 5 layers deep. And that usually will get me to the root of where I am not believing I have value. And then I ask myself the question, what value do I bring to this world? And then I have to list it out, creativity and kindness and taking care of my family, all the different things of why I bring value. And some of them are things that we do, and some of them are just that intrinsic value because we're human, because of just who we are, not because of what we do. Not because of our job, not because of those kinds of things, not because of titles or roles that we have, because of just who we are as a human. And then the last question that I ask myself to that critical voice is, what do you want? What do you want? Is it that I really want to be skinny? Is it that, or is it really that I want to belong? I want to be seen. I want to be known. I want to be accepted. I want to be safe. I want to be in security. I want to be loved. I want to be nurtured. I want to be at peace. Like, these are the things that human basic needs. They're basic human needs. And that's what we really want. And that's what we feel like is missing oftentimes when we are having a negative body spiral. So these 3 questions of, what are you afraid of? Ask 5 layers of why, getting to the root of what the fear really is. And then asking, what is my value? What do I actually bring? Bringing those things to the surface, bringing those things to the forefront of my mind, and remembering those things, writing them down and remembering them, and keeping them close for the next time I go through that spiral again. And then the third question is what do I want? What do I want? And usually what I want is one of those basic human needs. So challenge is, if you find yourself in that place, I want you to ask yourself those 3 questions. If you find that you need more support, as always, my DMs are open, and you can always schedule a coaching session with me if you feel like you need further help. The challenge is hard. It's not an easy challenge, but I know that it's going to be a beneficial challenge. So have a wonderful Wednesday, and hey, you're beautiful.